Hello, and welcome to this presentation comparing conventional project management to Agile. I'm your presenter, John M. Quigley from Value Transformation, LLC. Our agenda for this presentation is provided. We will review each of these topic areas from a comparative perspective for two reasons. First, comparing something with something you already know can enable quicker understanding of the concept under discussion. These things are not so dissimilar. There is no reason to fear. Second, understanding how these things are comparable enables us to understand the objectives behind each of these elements and perhaps better judge when it is appropriate to use which tool or approach. As I said earlier, my name is John M. Quigley. I have been involved in product development and project management since 1990. My first job was writing embedded code for industrial equipment using the 8051 family from Intel and subsequently a range of microchip products. I have an engineering undergraduate degree from the University of North Carolina, Charlotte, and multiple master's degrees from City University of Seattle. I'm on the NPM Advisory Board of Western Carolina and the Advisory Committee for Foresight Tech for their business and project management programs. I have ceded 7 U.S. patents to the companies for which I have worked, and I have co-authored more than 10 books and have contributed to many other books, for example, The Project Manager Who Smiled and the Encyclopedia of Software Engineering. I have authored or co-authored scores of magazine articles, as well as spoken at many conferences on a variety of business and technical topics. You may hear much ballyhooed debate over which is better, Agile, Scrum, or Waterfall or conventional project management, as if there could only be one. This is a rather pointless argument. It's sort of like arguing if a Phillips head screwdriver is better than a hammer. It really depends upon the job, doesn't it? There are attributes of the organization and the project that will help select the appropriate approach to the project. However, even if your organization believes or endorses only one approach, much can be learned from the other and integrated into your project work that will improve the probability for success. We will discuss some of that later in the presentation. This graphic illustrates how Agile/Scrum works. The inputs are analogous to requirements, and the output is the working iteration of the product. The product backlog decomposes to a sprint backlog, which is executed or built during the sprint. Every 24 hours there is a review, and every 14 to 30 days there is another review and an iteration of the product available. The Agile Manifesto describes those aspects or attributes of projects and product development that are prized. For example, instead of extensive documentation that must be maintained, we use only the essential elements required for success. You can visit the website and learn more. In conventional project management, there are 3 categories of players: the sponsor, the project manager, and the team. In analog or Scrum project management, we have 3 combatants also. We have the product owner, analogous to the product sponsor, project sponsor. The Scrum Master, you can think of that person as a project manager, though the way they do their work is much different. And we have a team. The team may have differences from the conventional project connotation, but they are still a group of people that will work together to produce the desired results. You will see this table throughout the remainder of the presentation. The remainder of the presentation will compare the conventional word for that project definition along with the Agile corresponding word. While these may not be exacting, the principles are similar. We do this to take away the fear of trying Agile, since it really is likely that not much different from what you're already doing, just more streamlined. We will start with the product backlog. The product backlog can be viewed as the scope of the project. At the end of the day, we want to have achieved the end result identified in the product backlog. The sprint backlog is a breakdown of what it takes to achieve some portion of the product backlog per unit time. This is similar to WBS in that it is a disaggregation of the product objectives determined to fit into one sprint. We will discuss the sprint at one of the later slides. The key takeaway here is that the product backlog is the scope, defines the objective, and it can change. And the sprint backlog is a decomposition of what it takes to achieve certain parts of the product backlog in a specific unit time. That specific unit time is the sprint. The sprint is the duration of a project execution as defined by the organization. All sprints in an organization are typically 2 or 4 weeks. The product of the hours available for a sprint is the number of people on the team, the number of hours worked per day by each team member. We will fill this volume of available time with contents from the product backlog decomposition or sprint backlog, and pull an item off the product backlog, decomposing it to the tasks that must be completed to produce that product backlog. During the sprint, we have daily time-boxed meetings. Time-boxed means there is a specific and very finite amount of time for this meeting with the team. The Scrum Master will facilitate the meeting, and the product owner may be attending. The sprint meeting is not the only time the team will communicate, but it is an open discussion of the events, the progress, and also important, the impediments to success. This quick meeting is to assess progress and determine areas of risk, consider redistribution of work or objectives, and adapt to what is being learned by the team. Conventional projects can be distributed across the globe, and the teams can be quite large. Communications opportunities are likewise large and can become difficult to manage in conventional projects. Typically, in Agile or Scrum projects, the people or talent interfaces are very close and are not distributed. For example, the team will be co-located, ideally, and will include all of the talent, certainly most of the talent, required for the success of the project. The interface to the project manager, the Scrum Master, is closely connected to the team rather than individuals. This is due at least in part to the daily sprint meetings. The conventional project manager may walk amongst the team, but experience suggests the frequency of team meetings and also the efficacy is quite remedial. Instead of earned value management, like budgeted cost work scheduled or planned value, and budgeted cost work performed or earned value, we use burn down charts. Burn down charts are much less difficult to create or understand, and is based upon the progress made against that expected. The maximum time available is readily known, that's the sprint. The time remaining likewise is easily understood. The daily meetings update the progress and identify areas of risk. If an objective takes longer than planned, we will immediately see the implication on the remaining work line. Should a portion of the work take more time than expected, that will impact the curve and inform everybody that something must be addressed to fulfill the expectations from the sprint. Alter workload, reduce sprint objective content. That same thing is supposed to happen in conventional projects, but determining when you're behind schedule or over budget tends to be a little more difficult using earned value techniques. A big part of Agile is the visual representation of the state of the work. The team can readily see the product backlog, the sprint backlog, and the elements that are presently under test, as well as the burn down chart. This quickly articulates the state of this portion of the project and allows the team to quickly respond without a great deal of deciphering. At the end of each sprint, there is a review of the sprint known as the retrospective. This is similar to conventional project management, white book, or lessons learned exercises. Experience suggests that this activity in conventional project management is at best conducted at the end of each gate, and more frequently at the end of the project if done at all, meaning any opportunity for the team to learn and improve things along the way are lost until the next project, or at least until the next gate. The data typically goes into a book or a database, is usually not read or used. Agile retrospectives keep the team thinking about how things can be made better, and we take time to do this at the end of each sprint. This is time-boxed as well, keeping the theme of keep moving. The retrospective considers all aspects of the work, from the processes, who does what, and the human resources related items, all with the goal of making things work better and easier in the next sprint. Another way to look at it is a plan, do, check, act in the middle of the project. There are questions about how things went during the last sprint with data, when available, to substantiate or help define and drive the alternative actions from the team's perspective. This is not some top-down approach to improvement performed by edict. The change will be based upon the team's experiences from the last sprint. We defined the players early on. However, there can be a significant difference between a Scrum Master and a conventional project manager. In conventional projects, the project manager may be a command and control personality, or perhaps the project manager enforces the bidding of the executives of the organization regarding the plan and timing of the product. The Scrum Master is less like this type of leader, which brings us to a couple of concepts about leadership. The Scrum Master is more like a coach for the team and less like the commander, as you may see in conventional project management. They empower the team, they coach the team, and they facilitate resolving impediments. Consider the Western leadership concepts that are embodied in the famous U.S. General George S. Patton. This person typically defines the objective and will have a great deal of influence on how the objective is met, and others in the team will follow this lead. Contrast that with Lao Tzu or Eastern style. Instead of leading and driving the team, this type of leader works from within the team, helping them reach the objective in a different way. The team identifies the approach, and this type of leader will assist the team in achieving that objective. We have seen how Agile applies to project management. However, we have not seen the Agile approach works well in the context of line or operations management. In fact, we have seen a rather large firm move from managing the line organization resources in a project using some of these Agile techniques. We've applied this way of working to line manage ourselves with great improvement in throughput as well as fewer bottlenecks. Even if the organization's preferred project management method is conventional or stage-gated, these techniques applied to the operations of the project can help improve the conventional project performance. You can see here how it works. In a functionally structured organization, the project work may be led within the functional structure by the line manager. For example, there may be a verification group manager working with a group of test and verification personnel on a project, and some individuals assigned to some projects and others assigned to other projects. Specifically, short-term goals are identified within the line organization. Those are broken down into daily objectives, and you have a stand-up daily meeting to discuss the status, and you adapt as you learn. Using Agile technique in the conventional project as previously described requires mapping the sprints to the Great Gate criterion. We can have multiple Agile projects working together to produce a system. With this structure, we will synchronize all of our Agile sprints around the system incarnation that is to be achieved in this iteration. These teams will share information by having attend other sprint meetings. We will still have to find a mechanism for integrating the results of these concurrent sprints and performing integration tests and verification. This can be another dependent sprint, perhaps with the verification activities taking on a sprint approach. You can find an example of this, the verification of a complex system on the Value Transformation blog. It is even appropriate to have portions of a conventional project have Agile elements. We just have to synchronize the work of these two project execution elements. In this case, delivering various components to a system for systems integration testing. Some of the work is done Agile, and some of the work is done or performed using conventional project management techniques. Many Agile teams can work to develop a system as well. This graphic illustrates how the teams can collaborate with each other. Representation in the coordinating meeting includes necessary competencies for the objectives at hand and probably the product owner. Changes to designs should be managed with this core team of representatives coordinating the development direction, and therefore some measure of configuration management should be applied here as well. Both conventional and Agile project methods have something to offer. Instead of thinking only one of these approaches, it is perhaps more prudent to think either or even a mashup of both. Agile applied to line management in the service of conventional project management works. We have applied these techniques and witnessed positive results consistently. Agile techniques can be applied directly to the conventional project management. Nowhere does it say in conventional project management that the project manager should not have a daily brief discussion with their team. Instead of thinking of this or only on this or only that, consider sometimes both, sometimes one, and sometimes the other. Thank you for stopping by and listening to this broadcast. Contact Value Transformation LLC for your product and project management training and consulting.